How's it, guys? Coyote Works here. Well, I'm finally off the pavement. I've driven about 2 hours from my hometown of Prineville. Just left the pavement on a pretty good size, fairly well-maintained gravel road, but it is a little bit rough this time of year. So today I'm on the hunt for a couple of things. One is an old bunker that I'm not sure the history behind it, but I stumbled across it about 10 years ago. But it's an old bunker in the ground or something like that. Number two, I'm on the search for a site of an old whiskey still. Now, a lot of people don't think of Oregon and the high desert out here as being a place where prohibition was a big deal. But the truth is, prohibition was out in this country too, and there was a period of time during those years when there were a good handful of people in that era. Some of them were old cowboys, some of them were homesteaders, but there was a good group of people that ran illegal whiskey to make ends meet during those years. I'm on the hunt for that today. Hopefully we'll check out a couple of homesteads, we'll stumble across a few other things, but above all, more than anything, we're just going to enjoy being out of town for a couple of days. And I'm out in this country where one of the famous, around the turn of the 19th century, one of the famous, largest, most successful ranchers out here ran herds of hundreds and hundreds of horses all across this country. In fact, at his home ranch, he had a stage stop and a general store, and I think even a little bit of a hotel. Now, one thing I think is super important, especially when I'm running solo out here in the backcountry, is to pay really close attention to all of my gauges and readings on my Jeep. And one thing that's cool about this Recon is it's got a little bit of an upgraded vehicle information system in it. So the things that I watch the closest are the coolant temperature and the transmission temperature, the transmission fluid temperature. But I scan through my gauges like really frequently, and I'm always just watching coolant temperature, transmission fluid temperature. Oil pressure is another good thing to keep an eye on. All right, I'm up in the ballpark of this old bunker, root cellar, whatever it is, and homestead. So sometimes you just got to get out and walk and cover some country. So I'm going to grab a couple of pieces of gear. One thing is, anytime I walk away from my vehicle out here, I always at least have a couple of basic supplies with me. So first thing is, it's chilly out here, so I'm going to grab a jacket. And of course, I've always got my pistol on me and a knife when I'm out here. Inside my chest pack, I've got some basic supplies: compass, fire starter, energy bar, some things like a couple of water purification tablets, lighter, things like that. And because I can, I'm going to grab my rifle. And before any of you guys that live in more crowded places start freaking out, yes, it is okay to carry a rifle out here. It is legal. And most anybody that I run into out here is also going to have a rifle with them. All right, let's go see what we can find. All right, guys, look, do you see what I see? I see a pile of rocks there that definitely doesn't look natural. Let's go see what that is. These are definitely some old boards here. This pile of rocks here, I can tell there used to be something in the center of it, but it looks like there's soil all washed into it. There's quite a bit of old lumber, and this is old rough sawn lumber that's laying here. So I know this is old, but I don't know if it's what I'm looking for. It could potentially be that old bunker. This is sort of what I remember the entrance of it looking like. I'm going to walk around a little bit more. I'm not 100% sure if this is it, but I know I'm in the right area. Well, I hiked down one side of this draw, crossed it, back up the other side, and I'm not seeing any more signs of anything. A couple of old axe cut stumps. Those are probably pre-1900 or right around 1900. Alright guys, check this out. So I just saw this through the trees. You see the line of this branch down there? It just looked out of the ordinary. It wasn't quite normal. And then as I got closer, I saw this end that had been cut with an axe. And this is really old, so God, I'm really close to an area where something was happening. And it could be that bunker, but this is the kind of stuff you got to watch for, is every single little sign of the hand of man modifying the natural environment out here. And that's how you track down this old history out here. I don't know guys, I've been crisscrossing back and forth this whole draw. This country seems really familiar, like I know I'm in the right ballpark. And sometimes it's so hard to see stuff when it gets old out here. It just blends into the topography, and especially this time of year, everything is shades of gray. I stumbled across a couple of old cans, so I'm going to search this area a little bit, and if I don't find it in here, I'm just going to bail back to the Jeep and start moving on and think about finding a campsite tonight. All right. I don't know what this thing is, but this is exactly what I was looking for. Oh yeah. Holy smokes. Yep. This is what I was looking for, guys. I can't believe I found this. This is so cool. I still have no idea what this is, but all these timbers up here on the top, and then this all rock lined back into here. So it must have been quite a feat of engineering to build this thing, and it was done a long time ago. So God, I feel like it's like some kind of bunker or something. Let's check it out. There's a stovepipe up on top, or a vent pipe. I don't want to stay back in here too long because this thing's about ready to come down, but this is just the most random thing, man. I'm miles and miles away from where there should rightfully be any modern day activity for sure. And it's stuff like this, I just wonder what the story is behind this. Like, this was a lot of effort to dig this tunnel. They may have even needed to blast out some of this rock, and it just makes me wonder what this is for. There's logs along here that are all limbed up with axes. It's actually quite the little engineering feat for somebody out here by hand, and I just have no idea what it was even for. It looks like there's a platform in there that could be like a bed. So I don't know if it was somebody's like fallout shelter back in the 20s. I'm thinking it's from the 20s-ish is the era. There's a lot of metal around the door, a huge kind of a latch thing where the door would have been padlocked, steel door. So I don't know, man, this is pretty crazy. One of these mysteries out here in the middle of the desert. And I don't know what this abutment wall is right here. It looks like it used to go all the way around here, so maybe it was just to protect the entrance. And then there's the bunker going off to the left. It's really a pretty ingenious design. There's trenching around it so that water running down off the hill will flow around it and not flow into it. Pretty amazing. All right, I gotta hustle out of here. I only meant to spend about 30 minutes here, and I've been almost 2 hours walking around till I located this bunker. So I'm gonna hustle back to the Jeep, because this is not the area I wanted to camp in, and it could still take me another hour or two to get there. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I've probably got 2 hours of light left, so. All right, made it back to the Jeep. Actually, it was downhill all the way, so it only took me about 20 minutes to get here. So I'm gonna get saddled up, hit the trail some more, start trying to get over into the country where I'm looking to camp. Well, shit. I took off on a different road. I actually got distracted from going to where I thought I was going to camp and took a left instead of a right to go into some country I've never been in. And this road is just going to shit. And I'm at that point where if I go much further, it's going to be too much of a pain in the ass to turn around and come back. But I don't know what this road looks like ahead. But I'm going to have to make a decision here. I just had to get out and take a hike through this old growth juniper forest. It's pretty rare out here, but these are some of the original stands of old growth juniper, and a lot of these juniper trees could be well over 100 years old, maybe 150, 200 years old. My sun's going down fast, and I still got a couple more miles to go to where I was thinking I wanted to camp. And the road is just rough as hell. I'm literally just crawling along it, but I couldn't pass this up to walk around and check out this old growth juniper forest. Look at this, the pioneers were in here, man. This old stump cut with an axe. Look how old that thing is. Bet this stump right here was cut 125 years ago. This would have been a perfect spot for the settlers or the early explorers to camp, because out in this country, most of it's really open. So to come into this stand of old growth junipers would have provided good shelter, good cover. It would have been a great place to camp. A couple more old stumps here. It just makes me wonder if the... Oh, look at this. That was cut with an axe. These were definitely cut down a long time ago. Yeah, somebody camped in here. Could have been the cavalry back in the day. Could have been the early homesteaders. Who knows? But if these trees could talk, I wonder what story they would tell us. As cool as this is, I need to start looking for a spot to camp. Well, once again, I'm going to be pushing up against dark to find a place to camp. Oh shit, I better check the map. I'm not even sure what way to go here. Yeah, I really wish I would have camped back in that old growth juniper forest. Man, that was really cool, but I thought I was going to be able to make it to another spot. But that road was too bad. I was going too slow, and I think I'm running out of daylight. So I see a ridge up here. I'm just going to try to make it to the base of this ridge, because that should give me a little cover from the wind and everything, and hopefully there will be some trees there with some wood. So and now I'm starving too, so a couple of my typical things that I do out here is I drive way too long without eating, and then I drive way too long without picking my place to camp. All right, I got just a couple of minutes before dark, probably about 10 minutes before pitch black. So I think what I'm going to do is get a fire built first, and then I'll string my rooftop tent up, because I'm going to need a little bit of light to gather a little bit of firewood. All right, I got a fire going. Now I'm going to get my tent put up. Damn, it's cold out here. There's already frost on the top of my tent. My fingers are going numb. I think it's about maybe 25-ish or so. All right, got my tent stood up. Got a little fire going here. So I'm gonna drag my table out, get a little bit more of a camp set up, because I'm starving. Oh. Well, I got my camp all set up, and even after dark, my whole setup between setting my rooftop tent up, gathering firewood, digging a fire pit, and pulling out this table and chair, everything that's set up now, my ready light, this probably took me right around 25 minutes to set this all up. So I'm starving. I'm going to have a mountain house meal tonight. Or maybe I'll have a backpacker's pantry. I've got a couple of those in here. Kung Pao rice with chicken. Yeah, maybe I'll try that. Try another backpacker's pantry meal. Now, I just use this little single burner Optimus Crux in my setup. I do have another stove and a backpack in my rig too, so I have a backup, but this thing doesn't take up hardly any room at all. It's been really reliable for me. It's always kind of a race this time of year. I gathered a little bit of firewood, but it's after dark, so it's not the easiest thing to do. But hopefully I got a small pile here that's just the right amount for me to keep a little bit of warmth, a little bit of a fire going while I eat my dinner. And I'm actually pretty tired. I hiked quite a bit today, so I probably won't stay up real late. One thing, when the temperature starts getting cold like this, it's really tough to gather enough firewood after dark to keep a fire going for a very long time. So my goal is usually to just get enough wood to keep a fire going and keep a little bit of heat on me till I get through with dinner and everything. And then on a night like tonight, where I rolled into camp after dark, once I eat dinner, I'll just head up into the rooftop tent, maybe lay there and read a little bit and relax. All right, water is boiling. One thing I like to do sometimes in the evenings is just take the rest of my boiled water and add it to a cup, so I have a little bit of warm water to drink. All right, I think all that's left is wait for this thing to hydrate. Set it right down here where it can get a little bit of heat from the fire. So one little trick when you're out here, either if you're in a place that doesn't have a lot of firewood, or like me tonight, it was just dark when I rolled in, and it's hard to gather firewood after dark is you can use these cow patties. Most all of this country out here was grazed at one time or is grazed intermittently, so there's usually always cow pies around. These things burn a long time and they put off a really hot heat. They're almost like a pellet or something. It really helps stretch a wood supply out. I really enjoy coming out in the colder weather. For one, there's even less of a chance that I'll run into any other people out here. But also, no bugs, no snakes, no scorpions. This year where it's so dry, it's not really inhibiting my ability. Once there gets to be snow on the ground and mud and stuff, it's a little bit more of a pain in the ass. But right now, it's the terrain's fine. The worst condition out here is just the dust and the wind this time of year when it's dry like this. But I actually really enjoy the colder weather. Alright, let's see how this backpacker's pantry meal is. I feel like I'm about ready to starve to death here. You know, the flavor's really good, but this is something I've noticed about these backpacker's pantry meals. They just don't rehydrate that well. Like the rice is, it's just not fluffy and nice. It tastes good, but I just think Mountain House has got it down to a science, and all these other guys are just imposters. Yeah, it'll work. It'll fill me up. But even the vegetables, like there's carrots in here, and they're just a little hard in the center, and this thing's been sitting here for about 15, maybe almost 20 minutes. You know, this is about the third one of these backpackers pantry meals that I've tried. And I can't honestly say I can recommend these things. They're just, I mean, like I said, the flavor's good, but it's like it just won't rehydrate all the way. And the texture and everything. And then it says it's Kung Pao chicken. Kung Pao rice with chicken. But I'm about halfway through this thing and I've yet to find a piece of chicken in it. Well, I got my dinner down me. Now I'm just hydrating a little bit before bed. I don't really know what this country looks like because it was pretty dark when I rolled in here. I know I'm right in the middle of a couple of big old juniper trees, but it'll be interesting to wake up in the morning and see what this looks like. I think I'm about 2 miles away from that rim where the old whiskey still, or the old whiskey stilling site was. So I'm probably going to break camp fairly early in the morning, head over there, because that one could take me some hiking too, like that bunker today. But I'm really stoked to have found that bunker. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't camp in that old growth juniper forest that I went through. That would have been pretty cool to hike around and explore in the morning, but oh well, it's typical Coyote Works fashion. I got to keep seeing what's over that next ridge, and that's all part of the adventure out here. But sometimes what it means is that you end up in a spot that's not fantastic. But I got a fire, got some dinner in me, and all in all, it was a pretty good evening. I was looking at the weather forecast, and it could get down to like 13, 14 degrees, so it's going to be a chilly one. Now all I got to do is just wait for the fire to burn down a little bit, and then I'll crawl up in the rooftop tent and turn the buddy heater on and probably read for a little bit. I don't have to do much to button up my little camp, but I do need to make sure that I don't have any liquid in here because it will freeze tonight if I do. One thing I do, little trick, is my stove, I'll just leave it sitting out, nothing will hurt it. But I don't really want the little burner to fill up with rain. Then it's kind of a pain in the ass to get it dried out and cooking in the morning. So I just set my cup on top of it. And then if it does rain a little bit, or like tonight, it's frosting. In fact, there's already frost on the grass and everything. So that'll just keep the frost off it, and it'll be all ready to go for me in the morning. Put the lid on my food box, and my camp's pretty much buttoned up and good to go at that point. I don't know if that's showing up on camera, but there's already frost all over my rooftop tent. And the ladder's all sparkly. Yeah, it's going to be a cold one tonight. Alright, so here's the thing with this tri-layer tent, man. I turn that heater on and it turns into like a sauna in here. But the good news is I turn the heater on, it heats it up in here, then I turn it back off and just leave the pilot light on, and it actually retains the heat pretty well in here. So, and then even with just my body heat and the pilot light on, it's actually fairly comfortable. So I'm just going to kick back and read. I just looked at the clock. It's only like 8:20. So I'll probably read for a little bit before I go to sleep. Well, I've just been laying here doing some reading and starting to get kind of drowsy, so this was a pretty amazing day, but this one's over, guys. Coyote Works out. I'll see you guys for some more adventures tomorrow. What's up, guys? It's about 3 o'clock in the morning and I woke up a little bit chilly, and let me show you why. 8 degrees. So I'm sleeping in my 0 degrees Wiggies bag, which was a 0 degree bag when I got it about 10, 12, 15 years ago. Now it's about a 25 degree bag. So I have this poncho liner on top of my bag. But what happened is I don't think this poncho liner is really that breathable. So it started getting moisture on the inside of it. I got my heater going. I'm kind of getting things good and vented out. I'm getting myself warmed up a little bit. So I'm just going to try to get my core warmed up a little bit, and then I'll drift back off and get a couple more hours worth of sleep. Dang, guys, it is freaking cold. It's about 5:15 in the morning, and I am just too cold to sleep anymore. So I got back up, turned the heater on. I'm gonna have me a little bit of coffee and just call it a night and start working towards a day's worth of adventures. Holy smokes, it's no wonder I'm cold. Check this out. 6 degrees. Yeah, I am definitely gonna have to switch out some sleeping gear, man. This is just not pleasant. I'm starting to soak up a little bit of heat from the heater, but man, it was a cold night. Oh, well, it is cold out here this morning, guys. I actually just kind of lounged up in my tent until the sun started to come up, so it's probably just a little bit after 7, and I'm gonna go get a fire started. There is frost everywhere, but it is just beautiful out here. Well, I left ice inside my pan. I'm gonna have to set it down next to the fire to let it thaw just for a second. Well, the sun's been up for quite a while now. I've probably been dinking around, gathered firewood, things like that for about an hour or so. And it's still below freezing out here, and the frost isn't going away. I was hoping that the sun would hit my tent and the frost would all melt off of it and dry off, but well, the sun's hitting my tent, but it's still so cold out here the frost isn't melting off it, so I'll probably have to put it away all frosty. Got myself a Mountain House meal rehydrating. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm going to have little biscuits and gravy for breakfast. Got me a cup of coffee, my second cup of the day going here. I don't want to screw around camp too long, but at the same time, I'm kind of enjoying just relaxing by the fire. And I've got a couple miles of trail to cover in the Jeep to get into that area where the old whiskey still site is, and then it's going to take some hiking to find that. One thing about being out here in the desert country that I really appreciate too is just how much hotter and nicer the juniper burns than the pine. It seems like around here up in the forest we don't have any hardwood, so you're limited to pine and fir when you're up in the forest for firewood. And that stuff is just such a soft wood and it burns so fast. Well, the juniper is technically kind of a soft wood too, but it just burns a lot longer, produces better coals, and just makes a hotter fire than the pine or the fir. Man, I tell you guys, this mountain house, this stuff is top shelf, man. This is man, I don't know how they do it, but the biscuits in it still have just a little bit of firmness, a little bit of crisp to them. A lot of sausage. Is perfect. Good meal to start out the day. Last thing I got to do is knock this fire down, then we'll be on the trail. I think that's about good. By the springtime, you won't even be able to tell I was here. Alright guys, let's go find us a whiskey still. So I've got a couple of miles to get there. I don't know, 2-3 miles, not too bad. And it's interesting seeing some of this country because it was mostly dark when I came through last night. So anyway, I'm just going to motor straight there. Probably won't stop and do a lot of filming on the way because I mainly just want to get there. So we'll see what we can find. Should be getting in the right general direction of that whiskey still. I can see some rim rocks up here on my left, and I think I just need to hike up to those rim rocks and start following them around. And if I start from this end and start hiking down those rim rocks, I should eventually get to the whiskey still site. All right, let's go see if we can find this whiskey still. I don't know if you can see in the camera, there's a rim rock up that hill behind me. So I'm going to head up to that rim rock and then just start following it around. And somewhere there will be a cleft in that rim rock. And back in that cleft is where I found that old whiskey still. Dang it, I'm disappointed. I thought this was it. It's a little alcove just like this, tucked back up here. If it was a little earlier in the year, a guy wouldn't want to be scrambling around in here. These rim rocks are full of rattlesnakes. All right, well, I guess I keep hiking. Now this is kind of a good sign here. This is an old axe cut stump. Alright guys, I feel like I'm getting close to something. I'm running into more and more of these axe cut stumps. and I was thinking about it, and what does a whiskey still, or what did a whiskey still back in 1915 or 1920 or whenever, what did it need to run? It needed wood, a lot of firewood. And right here where I'm standing, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 axe cut stumps right in this immediate little area here. And here's a piece right here that's been kind of cut to length, so I'm thinking I'm close to something. I'm just hoping it's that whiskey still. All right, guys. I'm gonna have to start working my way back. I don't even know if I'm on the right section of the ridge at this point. I might do some more driving and see if I see any more rim rock that looks familiar. But I know it's up in here somewhere. Well, no luck on the whiskey still, damn it. We're out in some cool country with a lot of history in it. So I'm thinking we just go explore some more areas. I still got a couple hours worth of light left, and I'm gonna push it right up until the end today. Well, that was a good long hike. It's about, my thermometer in my Jeep says it's 31 degrees out there right now, but it's parked in the shade, so it's not warming up too much. But even when it's cold like this out in this country, it's so dry, you get pretty dehydrated, so I'm having a little coconut juice. Oh my God, that's refreshing. All right, let's hit the trail. Well, I did jump out of the Jeep and check something out. Came across this old stone fence, and I've seen these before out in this country. It's not uncommon for the homesteaders to build fences out of stone, and they did it for two reasons. One was the rock was a good material to use for fences, but two, at the same time, they would clear their pastures. But what I saw that piqued my interest is this, that big pile of stones. So I'm going to check it out. Well, it doesn't appear to be anything other than a big pile of stones, but it's still pretty incredible, man. That would have taken a couple of homesteaders a long time to pile up that many stones back there. Every single one of those stones was probably carried there by hand. Look at this guy's little foundation. I knew there would be a homestead in here someplace. And they've got some rocks over there and some over there, so we got to go check those out. Oh, check this out. This is definitely the remains of something. Oh yeah. Old building. Well guys, I'm about to run out of ground to explore, so I think I'm about to call this trip a wrap, head back into town. I'm thinking a shower and some Chinese food is sounding pretty good, so I got about 2 hours to get back home. I didn't find the old whiskey still site, but I did find the bunker, so I'm pretty stoked about that. And as always, I saw some cool country, saw some new country that I'd never seen before. So it was a great trip. I hope you guys enjoyed coming along, and I'll catch you on the next one. Coyote Works out.